Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a word you hear every single day, average. And I'm going to show you how that one simple word is often used to lie to you.
Yeah, I know. We all think we know what average means. But what if I told you that that single number can be, and often is, super deceptive? Let's get into it.
So, when does an average stop being, well, average? It's a real statistical puzzle. Let's look at how a totally normal, everyday average can paint a picture that's just completely wrong.
Okay, to really get this, let's use a super simple example. This one's inspired by a classic from Investopedia. Picture a group of 10 kids, and we're going to talk about something we all get, weekly allowance. So for 9 of these kids, things are pretty normal. They're getting, $10, $11, $12 a week, all clustered together. Seems simple enough, right? But then there's the 10th kid, and this is where our perfect little picture gets totally messed up. This is what statisticians call an outlier, one piece of data that's way, way different from all the others. This kid gets $60. 60 a week. Now that one kid is going to completely change how we see the whole group. So, what do you think the average allowance is for this group? Just take a quick guess. Is it going to be somewhere around that $11 mark where most of the kids are? Or is that one $60 kid going to blow up the whole calculation? Okay, you ready? The calculated average is $16. Now, think about that. $16. Does that number describe anyone in this group? Heck no. 9 kids get way less than that, and 1 kid gets a ton more. It's a useless number in this case.
And that's the whole point. The number is technically correct, but it's totally misleading. That simple average we all learned about in grade school, it just failed us. To really see what's going on, we need some better tools in our toolbox.
And lucky for us, statistics has those tools. See, here's the secret. There isn't just one type of average. There are actually 3 main ways to find the center of a bunch of numbers. Let's meet them: the mean, the median, and the mode.
All right, first up is the mean. This is the guy we've been talking about, the one most people just call the average. You just add up all the numbers and divide by how many there are. It's kind of democratic, right? Every number gets an equal say. But as we just saw with our rich kid example, that also means it's really easily bullied by outliers.
Okay, next up, meet the median. The median is different. It doesn't care about the actual values so much as it cares about the order. It's the number that's sitting right in the dead center of the line. So that $60 kid, the median doesn't care. It just looks at the middle kid, making it totally resistant to those crazy outliers. It's the calm, cool, and collected center.
And finding it is super easy. You literally just put all your numbers in a line from smallest to biggest, and then you pick the one that's physically in the middle. That's it. If you have an even number of data points and 2 numbers are in the middle, you just average those 2 out. And our third player is the mode. The mode is basically a popularity contest. It's just the number or the thing that shows up the most often. Super useful when you're not even dealing with numbers. Like, what's the most popular shirt size? That's the mode.
So let's bring this back to our kids and their allowances. The mean got totally pulled out of shape by that one huge number. But the median? It doesn't get pushed around. It just sits in the middle, giving us a way better idea of what a typical kid actually gets.
So, okay, which one is the right one to use? Well, it all depends on the shape of your data. And what's really cool is that the relationship between the mean and the median tells you a story. It reveals the shape.
First, let's imagine a perfect world. The data is perfectly balanced, forming this beautiful symmetrical shape that we call a bell curve. When your data looks like this, everything is in harmony.
Because in a perfectly symmetrical world, the mean, the median, and the mode, they're all the exact same number. They all agree on where the center is. No arguments, no confusion.
But, the real world is messy. It's rarely that perfect. So what happens when you have a few really high values, like with our allowance example? Or think about real-world stuff, like salaries or house prices. You get a shape like this one, with a long tail stretching out to the right. We call this skewed right.
And see that tail? Imagine it's got gravity. It's pulling the mean up, 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 away from where most of the numbers actually are. But the median? It doesn't get pulled. It stays right there in the middle of the big cluster of people. This is why when you hear about median income or median home price, it's because it gives a much more honest picture. And of course, this can happen in the other direction too. What if you have a test where most people did well, but a few people scored really, really low?
Then your data gets skewed to the left, with a long tail pointing down.
And just like before, that low-end tail drags the mean down with it. But our hero, the median, stays put, giving us a much more stable and, frankly, a more truthful idea of how the typical student performed.
Okay, so we've met our three main players: mean, median, and mode. The big question is, how do you know which tool to pull out of the toolbox for the job at hand? Let's circle all the way back to our 10 kids and their allowances. Remember, the mean was $16, a number that didn't really describe anyone. But the median? If we line them all up, the middle value is $11. Now that feels right, doesn't it? That actually sounds like what a typical kid in that group is getting. So here's a super simple cheat sheet for you. If your data is nice and symmetrical, with no crazy outliers, like maybe a set of test scores in a class, the mean is your best friend. But the moment you see skewed data with outliers and think income, think house prices, the median is going to give you the real story. And if you're talking categories, like the most popular flavor of ice cream, that's a job for the mode.
All right, so why do we care? Why does any of this matter when you're just going about your day? What's the big takeaway here?
It matters because average is never just a number. It's a story someone is trying to tell you. And now, you know how to read between the lines. You have the power to spot when a number is being used to twist the truth. And you know how to ask for the number that tells the real story.
So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. The very next time you see a news report, or an article, or a politician talking about the average price of something, or the average income, I want you to ask yourself one simple question. Which average are they talking about? And why did they choose that one? Because that question, that one little question, could change everything you think you know about what you're reading.